From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, guess what? They are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has the SOR Newswire updated daily. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. Now, we got a little bit of a lineup change heading into tonight. As you all know, Merle usually joins me on Ghosts of the Great White North, but literally about 6 minutes before we went to air, he had an accident in his house, and it's actually quite traumatic, and he is in the middle of calling an ambulance to come get him, and we need some thoughts and prayers, people, for Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. He's not doing very well here right now. It happened when I was on the phone with him, right on Skype, and it's a little scary right now, but he'll be okay. But we just want some thoughts and prayers for Mike as he's going to make his way to get to the hospital right now and get some health care for his injury. Tonight, though, the show's got to go on. We're going to take a look at Ghosts of the Great White North in 2019 in review. And in tribute to Merle, we got some great guests with us. We got Amber Beckerud from SOR's Cryptid Tales on our YouTube channel. And down in Seattle, Washington, the man who never goes a day without wearing something of a skull, Ross Allison from A Ghost, and his teammate June Nixon is going to join us. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we are going to get to the news with the SOR Newswire. Amber, Ross, June, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Final appearance of 2019. Hard to believe we're already here, Ross.
Oh, I know. I can't believe it. It's happened so fast. But I'm hoping for a better year next year. Believe me.
Yeah.
Oh, so are we. So are we. And you know what? It's something that sorry, I just got a message from Mike here. He's got, he's in a lot of pain right now. And so, we'll just tell you what happened. Mike was brewing a nice hot cup of tea literally right before the show, and he brought it in, and he's getting his gear set up, and something happened where the boiling hot tea spilled all over him, and and so he's got some burns on his stomach and legs right now. He sent me some pictures, and it's not pretty right now. So we, poor guy's in pain, so we got to send him some love and make sure that he's okay. June, you haven't been on this show before, so
no, I haven't.
We want to make sure that everybody gets to know you. How did you get involved in the paranormal, and namely with Ross?
Well,
don't start there. Don't go there.
Let's go there. Well, no, actually, it was really something. I've always been fascinated by the paranormal. I never had any experiences as a child, but I've always been curious about it. And then one day, it was not too long after I got divorced, and I'm just sitting there watching some of these, some haunted history or some kind of TV shows or something. And I thought, that would be really awesome if I could go and go in there and kind of prove all this is crap. This is a bunch of bull. Nothing's real, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to start learning about this stuff, and I'm going to prove it's all not real. So I get into these classes. I start taking all these different classes around, and then I start having these experiences, and I was just like, oh man, maybe it isn't all crap. And so I joined a few groups, and the last group I was in before A Ghost was this group that was run by a really nice guy. We actually had our own radio show together, and he kept telling me, he goes, we need to have this one guy on our show because he's really knowledgeable. He knows everything about the paranormal. And I was like, no, we can't have this guy on our show. We're talking to, the Booth brothers, Johnny Hauser. We're talking to all these, really well-known paranormal figures. We can't have anybody local on our show. Heavens, no. And he's like, no, June, we're having this guy on our show. And I was like, okay, let's have him on the show. And then when he got on the show, I was like, wow. This guy really knows what he's talking about. He's amazing. So my friend Todd invited Ross to a investigation that we had. Todd had already invited almost 30 people to this investigation. So I was like going to beg Ross to talk to Todd about when we have investigations, only maybe inviting, 4 or 5 people, not 30 or 40 people, And that's kind of how I first got to know him, everything. So, then
I see your puppy there wants to chime in on Ross as well.
No, sorry.
Like, aw.
He needs to go outside.
Oh, that's Ross's dog.
Yes, it's my dog.
Are you sitting outside right now, Ross?
No, I'm sitting in the living room.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
He probably needs to let him outside. But
June,
anyway,
you also have a podcast too, June. Could you let our audience know what it is?
Yes. Well, actually, it's called Mystic Moon Cafe. We do our podcast on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And we just kind of talk about all different paranormal topics and everything. It's got a lot of authors. We have a lot of authors on our show too that usually delve into the paranormal or fantasy or something like that. So really fascinating. A lot of fun.
I noticed Dave has never been invited on.
Well,
never been invited on. I know I don't qualify because I'm north of the border and talk with an accent, but nonetheless.
We are not prejudiced against Canadians. I want to make that clear.
Okay. All right. The beautiful, lovely, and talented and Canadian Amber Beckerud from Cryptid Tales. My dear, you joined us probably 6 months ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And I gotta tell you what you have been able to do with our YouTube channel with your edition of Cryptid Tales. After I had you on as a guest on this show, I'm going to be honest with you. I fell in love with your work. And I remember talking to Gail about it, our news director, and Gail was like, Dave, whatever you do, you have to get Amber to be a part of SOR. And I said, I absolutely agree. 100%. And Gail and I don't agree on a lot. I mean, she's Rob Zombie, I'm Axl Rose, okay? And anyways, but we agreed on you. And I'll tell you, the way you jumped in with Cryptid Tales to really add a new dimension to our YouTube channel has been phenomenal, and I thank you so much for taking on the challenge and literally hitting it out of the ballpark.
Aw, thank you. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm excited for what next year brings. I'm excited to close this chapter and start a new decade off with a bang.
Awesome.
Me too. And I think you're a brilliant young mind in the paranormal. You're much wiser than the young age that you are. You make me feel old because I'm old enough to be your father.
Well, look at all that gray hair. Come on.
No, it's beautiful. Come on. Just because you dye yours, Ross. You dye yours.
Yeah.
No, he wears a
All
hat.
natural.
I cannot believe the amount of time that you hang out and investigate with David Weatherly that there is not one gray hair on you.
That's true. He'll bring some on.
Oh, my.
Ross, I want to start with you on Ghosts of the Great White North because we're going to have some fun tonight, just sharing some tales. We're going to get into some Christmas creepy cryptids, stories, and everything. But Ross, with you, and the way your 2019 went, I've known you for a couple of years now. This is probably the hardest year I've had in trying to get a hold of you. You've been absolutely everywhere this year. I've noticed your popularity really, really soar this year. What did you do differently that you haven't done in the past?
Well, I just still keep busy, and I think every year I may get a little busier, doing a little more traveling, especially with June. She's always in demand. We need to go somewhere. So
I do get a little antsy. I can't help it.
So, and I really am trying to post a little bit more, especially live feeds from a lot of the places we get into. So we're trying to do that a little bit more. So that might help a little bit.
And people love that so much. It's like when we go to some of these places that a lot of people can't get to or, really financially can't, afford to go to. And they are just so happy that we do our live feeds and, we kind of have fun with that for a little bit before we start the official investigation. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you, June.
Yeah.
In regards to paranormal investigation, because literally since the end of 2017, it's really been the last 2 years of the UFO. And the paranormal outside of television, where we've seen a bunch of people all of a sudden come on television shows that we've never seen before, which I don't understand.
The experts. Quote.
The experts, yes, the experts. I want to ask you, what has changed in the paranormal over the last 2 years? Have we seen it finally peak, or do we see it starting to kind of slow down?
Well, that is something too.
That.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Starting that. Well, I call it a lot of these shows, and I call it, Ross doesn't like this term, but I call it fast food ghost hunting, where
that's nice.
It just seems like, investigators are getting so lazy. It's like all they're doing is using, like the Frank's box or the Spirit box or something like this. And that's all some of them are doing for a whole investigation, or using their app on their phone, or the Ovulus. That's all they're doing. They're not going through their footage and finding evidence. And it just seems like it's getting to be more and more mainstream. It's really, getting on my nerves a lot, because, it's like they're not putting any effort into it, and they're just taking it as, as the word. Right, Ross?
There's more. Well, I was going to say, too, there's also a lot more ridiculous shows coming out.
Yeah, a lot more.
A whole bunch of them, that a lot of them aren't even making a half season or even another season, because they've gotten so bad reviews. So it's just, and again, it's all the same stuff over and over again. Like June said, it's just these groups have gotten lazy. The television shows are giving them a false idea on what ghost hunting's all about, and the techniques in ghost hunting.
Yeah. And everything's a demon. Everything's a demon. Let's try to make it as scary as possible. So, of course, we have 27 demons living in this house. It's like, really? You really do? Yeah, where is that proof?
Yeah, I
the
have
psychic
no idea.
said so. The psychic.
Oh,
said
no,
so.
Wait. You can become a demonologist if you take a 3-hour course. Yes.
Yes.
For $199.95.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
I want to see, my dream is to see Ron Popeil do an infomercial on demonology courses with 3 easy payments of $49.95.
And just set it and forget it.
Exactly. Amber, what's your thoughts as you've come into this realm? You've always kind of been a viewer of it. You're an experiencer yourself. You're a storyteller. And as, you joined us, we kind of forced you to start taking this a little bit more seriously. We literally put your arms behind your back and started pulling up. That didn't feel very good, I know. But when you look at things as you've delved into it and started taking this a little bit more seriously, you got your own YouTube series that you are doing now that I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I've snuck a peek. I'm stalking you. But yeah, I said that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I know. But when you look at it, what are you trying to do differently than what you are seeing elsewhere? And why is that important?
I think for me, what I want to do, what I want to achieve with my series, and what I want to get to in the future is that I don't want to rely so much on the heavy tech side in terms of investigation tools. Like I rely very heavily on, the natural, the feeling, and just checking an energy out. And I think that's a big thing. Like June was saying, everybody goes in, it's a demon, it's a demon, it's a demon. And so many shows now, and it actually frustrates me to no end that they don't review their evidence. They don't show you reviewing their evidence. And, they don't talk about it. So I've been trying really hard. If I do get something, I replay it multiple times during my episodes. And I actually make sure that people are getting the best chance to hear that evidence as much as possible, and then recapping at the end of it, saying, this is what we found, this is what's up, this is how we felt, and just trying to keep more of an even balance between the heavy tech side. Like, I'm just starting out. I don't have all the big fancy gear like everybody else does that's out there. And yeah, I have my pendulum and my sixth sense, and I just got an EMF detector for Christmas, so like that's all we got. But we're doing what we can, and you have to be so critical of the apps on the phones and even the EMF detectors and everything else, and you just can't take it for face value. You have to analyze the hell out of everything. So that's a big thing for me, because I don't take everything at face value. I don't go into a place and be like, yep, it's haunted. Have I driven by places where I'm like, yep, that building definitely gives me a creepy feeling and there's something in there? Hell yeah. But
I just do that when just to make Ross irritated. I said, oh, that building's really old. I know it's haunted.
Yes. Hey, I want to ask you.
I pull over and I say, get out. Get out.
Ross, I want to ask you about something that Amber said, because I think she said something important that we don't hear a lot of in the paranormal world these days, that how she does a lot of things by feel. It's not about the technology. We have seen a real shift over the years from technology to feel. You're a guy who wants to have that experience and be able to describe that experience, and you almost use your technology as secondary compared to the experience you are having. You're almost using it just for some sort of confirmation rather than the first line of offense on trying to conduct a ghost investigation. Why are so many people today, never mind the technology, but why are they forgetting, in your opinion, as we got about 5 minutes before break, about the feel, about going in there and just experiencing something on their own?
Well, I think a lot of the shows rely on that because you don't have to prove it. It's a situation where you really can't prove somebody's feelings. It's nice to have a reading to say, if somebody walks into a room and says, I feel there's somebody over here on my left, and you go over with your equipment and you do get an interesting reading. Yeah, there is something going off on your left. So that's nice to confirm those feelings and help to build credibility to somebody who might be sensitive to the environment. But it is so easy for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to say, I'm a psychic, and go in and not have any psychic abilities whatsoever and tell a whole story. And most people will eat it up, especially if it's dramatic, especially if it gives you the chills. People love that. TV loves that. And so that's what makes it ghost hunting so easy for an audience. But, for me, like you said, I love to use people who may be gifted. I'm not going to push them out and say, no, I just want to rely on the tech, because I think people who are a little more sensitive can add more validity to what we could be experiencing in these environments. So having a psychic and having the equipment, it just adds more pieces to that paranormal puzzle. So I think it's great. And I think it's nice when you actually have that reading and that feeling where you can validate both of those experiences at the exact same time.
June, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's, it is one of those things too. And one thing it's really important that Ross has us do too is when we are at doing an investigation, we write everything down that we're feeling. We try not to say it out loud because that does lend to the credibility when all of a sudden, all of us wrote down, or some of us wrote down, as soon as I walked into the room, I got a really bad headache. And then a couple other people said, oh, as soon as I walked into the room, I got a really bad headache. And we all wrote it down. It's the same for a psychic. It's like all of a sudden we don't tell them where we're going. We don't front load them with any information whatsoever. And we just let them, go in first, write everything down, and then kind of compare to what the owner or the, business or the homeowner says. And sometimes it's amazing.
Yeah, and you get some great results with that, because even if you think you're not psychic at all, and you write down your feelings, and then other people have written down the same thing, it just builds that credibility. You're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I thought I was as psychic as a rock.
Which I always say. I'm as psychic as a turnip.
But it just helps to build that. It also helps to build that confidence in people when they start to realize that they aren't, picking up false readings, that they are actually picking up on something that could be happening there.
Yeah. Amber, what do you think?
I think it's very important to, and like, everybody said, having that technology as your secondary validation tool sometimes is a wonderful thing. One thing that I've been trying to do in every episode as well is I don't even look at my tech. I have it facing the camera, but I can't see it. So if I'm asking questions and I'm speaking my feelings and something happens on that tech, I don't see it until I review the evidence. So I don't know if anything is actually corresponding with what's happening aside from me putting out my feelings and then reviewing it later, which I think also helps too, because then I'm not just freaking out because, the EMF detector went off
right.
Or anything like that. Right. So I hope that adds to people liking the evidence and maybe getting a little more validation from it too.
No, that's awesome. I like that experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. We are only about 30 seconds away from the break. Ross, I'm going to let you finish your thought there.
Well, I was going to say, it's nice to see that, there's far too many issues where people are giving people leading information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't build credibility in this field.
No, I totally agree. And when we come back from the break, guys, I want to get into the idea of storytelling. Because it's great that we see all of these television shows in 2019 exploring new and different locations, even though some of them are still the same and the investigation style is the same. Why are we afraid to tell stories? Why are we afraid to go into legends? What's wrong with communicating and telling just a great story anymore? Why aren't we doing that? We're going to get into that. Goes to the Great White North, Amber Beckerud, June Nixon, and the legendary Ross Allison on Spaced Out Radio coming up next.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a Space Traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, surrounded by beautiful white snow. Finally, it feels like a white Christmas coming. Hey, I want to remind all of you that our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book at We Read Tonight. We got Ross's books up there, actually. I don't even think he knows that, but we do. Yeah, we want to make sure he gets some sales. And, of course, we also have the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Ghosts of the Great White North happens the final, or make that the third Wednesday of every month. This is the final episode of 2014. Usually, 2014, where the hell am I?
Oh, my God. Back in time? No.
I just shot back in time. 2019 as we prepare for 2020. All right, Ross Allison, June Nixon, Amber Beckerud are with us. Merle is on his way to the hospital because he decided to spill some hot tea all over himself. He was so excited about the episode that he got giddy. I think that's what happened. Anyways, we're going to continue on here with Ghosts of the Great White North. And Ross, I was going to start with you on this one because you have been involved in paranormal television. We don't get a lot of stories anymore. Yes, we get haunted locations, where they tell us about 38 seconds of the history of the building and why people believe it's haunted. And, there's a couple B-roll shots in there of showing us the building from a drone or from the inside or whatever it may be. But we don't investigate these beautiful legends and lore that every little highway town seems to have. There are so many beautiful stories out there, paranormally speaking, that are not being told. Are we really, as investigators or fans of this community, dropping the ball on what could be some amazing stories and amazing experiences?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when we're going back to television, the people that are involved in these shows are not really doing the research. They're basically, they hear a great story on another show, and so they'll send their team out there to investigate that place and see what they get as well. So again, it's a lot of that repetitiveness of telling the same stories over and over again and not looking for the fresh and unique stories that are out there, the unique experiences. So I think that's just an issue with not being daring enough. I think with stories too, there are a lot of great places out there that don't get a lot of attention, and I have been fortunate enough to find out some amazing places. We've been lucky enough ourselves to be the first to investigate a lot of these places that have never had the opportunity to spread their stories. I'd have to say it was a huge honor just to be the first American group to investigate, Barkerville.
Oh, yeah. That was amazing.
That was an amazing experience. And again, thank you, Dave, for introducing that place to us.
Yes. That was so cool.
But
oh, my gosh.
That's a prime example of an amazing place out there in the wilderness that it does get a lot of tourism. But unfortunately, Canada doesn't get a lot of attention when it comes to haunted places. I've noticed that as well. And so a lot of these, television shows aren't getting out there to feature these amazing places like Barkerville. So I think it's just a lot of it is just the fact that they don't know where to look because they're getting involved with people that aren't really paranormal investigators. They're just other investigators imitating someone else.
Mm-hmm. Amber, what's your thoughts on that? Because in Newfoundland, where you are, where you're 4.5 hours ahead of everybody, you just can't be 4. You got to add that extra half an hour in there just to say you're. Yeah,
my God.
4.5. Yeah, that's Newfoundland for you, and they talk strange there too. I swear, Newfoundland people, impossible to understand, but yet the most loving and caring people probably in Canada. I would say that for sure. You know, I could be wrong, but everyone I've met has been pretty damn good.
They're pretty good.
But anyways, Amber, as you have gone from the British Columbia to the Yukon Territory to now Newfoundland, where you are, how has the paranormal changed? Like when you're over there, there's so many old towns, there's so many old legends that have never been told, and they may never be told because a lot of people don't go there.
Yeah, but that's why I'm here. It is very different between, living in the Yukon and having very hardcore First Nations roots there and being able to experience the stories and the legends from the elders up there to in BC, you hear about ghost towns all the time. I mean, Barkerville is one of my favorite places, hands down. Mm-hmm. And you hear about them all the time, but nobody really talks about what happens there. So you have to go in and do it for yourself if you really want to hear about it. Nobody really talks about these places, but they're there. There's the whole Ghost Valley in southern British Columbia. So, all of the old mining towns and that kind of thing. And the only reason I knew about them is because my aunt's a geologist. So she took us on a huge tour and we got to go to these old ghost towns. Being here now, people live in folklore and legend. It's part of everyday life. So you can talk to anybody and they'll be on it. Like it's a topic you can open a whole can of worms and lose 6 hours talking to people here. But it's all word of mouth. And what I think all of our listeners probably don't really understand is Newfoundland wasn't part of Canada until 50 years ago. So I think it's 50 years ago.
1949. 70, because my dad was
70.
born in 49.
There you go. So 70 years ago, up until then, it was its own country. And it was full of pirates and Irishmen and Scotsmen and, all of those people coming over and having their own legends and folklore from their countries, bringing it over. And then they merged, and then they all got mixed in and became part of Canada. So now you're trying, to kind of mesh all of these things together. And so it's hard. And there isn't Canadian content. There really isn't.
No.
I feel like I'm always so crazy when I try and talk about this show. But when I was little, there was a show called Haunted Canada. I don't know if anybody else.
Creepy Canada?
Or it was Creepy Canada. It ran
Canada.
for 3 seasons. And but it was there and it existed. And that is literally why I know about haunted places in Canada, is that show.
And it was horrible. It had all that fake acting.
It was really bad.
Those reenactments.
I'm gonna have to look it up now. I wonder if it's on YouTube.
Oh, it was terrible. Like the triple zoom in on, if a guy's standing in the forest and he thinks Bigfoot is around, they do the triple zoom in to get closer each time. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But you know what? That's a good sign, though. Ross, go ahead.
Well, my question is why doesn't Canada get more attention? You've got so much territory out there that hasn't been talked about and so many amazing stories. Why are people overlooking you guys?
You know what? I think that's a simple answer. And Mike and I have discussed this many a times. 90% of all Canadians live within 100 miles of the United States border and Canada border. Okay, and all of those great stories are either in, like, Canadians live in pockets. It's not like, you know, for people who've never visited out west. If you're on the East Coast, it seems like there's a major city every hour down the road. Here, everything is spread out. So, for instance, if you're driving from Vancouver to Kelowna, where the Ogopogo is, it's a 4.5 to 5.5 hour drive. And there's not really many towns in between. But if you take the old scenic routes that go into a lot of these old mining communities, that's where the stories are. And people want to get to their destination. They don't want to go exploring anymore. Exploring is not really a big thing in Canada. And I think that's especially with the paranormal. You know, we don't have that Gettysburg. We don't have that, you know, we do have that Waverly Hills. Everybody's trying to get into these areas where they just don't allow paranormal, but they're going to be the first because everybody always says they're going to be the first. And what they're missing is every little story in town in between. And that's the real shame of it. Add to the fact that there's no real paranormal television show in Canada. Every television show we see is out of the United States.
All right.
I'm trying.
Well, we're all trying.
But then I've also noticed that you guys are pretty lazy in naming your towns too.
What's wrong with Dildo, Newfoundland?
I'm not talking. That was creative, all right? I'm talking about Mile 101.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I was like, is that a town?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. 108. Well, here's the story behind that, though. And I thought you knew this. The reason why from 100 Mile House, where I live, is 100 miles from Lillooet, where the Gold Rush Trail ran through. And at every mile marker, they had the post houses for people to stop. That's how they were able to track it right to Barkerville. Until you got into Williams Lake, Quesnel, and all that. Haunted dolls.
Well, I guess that makes sense for the time. But, you know, now as you're going up these places, it's like, okay, wow. There's all these Mile 108. And
I know. By the way, thank you to the Desert Clam. If you guys go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio, he's actually put a YouTube link to Creepy Canada on there.
Awesome.
As well as a town sign for Dildo, Newfoundland, which is nice.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
I don't, you know, I'm curious what the FCC will say about Dildo, Newfoundland. I'm curious about that because it's not like we're using a derogatory or horrific term if it's the name of a town in a province. I'm curious.
Is it how they pronounce it, though? Is it dildo?
Yeah. No, it's dildo.
Oh, it's dildo.
No, it's dildo.
You know.
They also have a town called Come By Chance.
Just by chance.
That's just like that. That's like the gas stations are called Come and Go.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why you never trust a newfie. They can't name a town. I mean, you imagine them naming their dog? Right?
I think we're off topic now.
Might be a little.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It really is. But with these stories, Ross, I'm going to bring you back in here for a second. With these stories, these small town legends that we really don't see covered anywhere in the paranormal, what do you think? And you be hypothetical here. But what do you think we're missing out on?
Oh, a lot, a whole lot. And the fact of the matter is, too, I wanted to point out, too, getting back on topic, was the fact that a lot of these ghost hunting groups don't really travel. You know, they stick within their own little area, so they don't get to the point, like you said, they don't like to explore. You know, when they go to some of these amazing places, I love to explore. I love to see these small little towns, and I love to hear their stories. I have been working, you know, with David Weatherly. We do want to put together a book, you know, that just talks about these small towns and their legends and ghost stories. So I just think a lot of that it's not getting published out there because there's not a lot of these groups that are willing to explore or can't afford to explore, you know, because they have their own families to take care of. You know, most of these ghost hunting groups are ghost hunting on a budget. so they don't have the freedom or the finances to travel all over the world like, unfortunately, we do. I know it sucks, but we do it.
But you bring up a good point, though. But there is also a bragging right that I have noticed. Okay, like people brag for months that they are going to investigate Gettysburg or Waverly Hills. You don't see them bragging that they're going to the Lone Jack Saloon in the middle of Montana or whatever a bar may be called. You don't see that bragging, but the story might be just as inquisitive.
Right, and it may be even more haunted. But the problem is a lot of these places have already gotten the attention. They're labeled as the most haunted in the world or the most haunted in the state. And so everybody rushes to that place. I've been to some of the most haunted castles all over the world. I've never experienced anything at some of these places. But I can go to these small places and have amazing things happen. I got to go to the Amityville house. I got to walk around to the Amityville house. Nothing. But that's supposed to be labeled as the most haunted house, and especially on the East Coast. So a lot of this is because we are already informed as to where the ghosts are. And so that's where people go. They don't take the time to explore and learn.
Should we be reaching out there, though, June? Is that where we are failing as paranormal investigators?
Well, I think it's, one of the things, too, is we see a lot of these places on a lot of these different shows. And I have to admit, some of these places like Waverly Hills and as soon as I saw that and saw the documentaries about it, it's one of those things that I wanted on my bucket list. It's like, I've got to go to this place. I've got to see it. But, it's the same thing with Port Townsend. There is a very famous hotel that everybody says is haunted, has all the, things happen all the time. I never really experienced too much there, but there's this other hotel that is just as amazing in Port Townsend that has a lot of things going on there, and it hardly gets any recognition about, what's going on there. So, yeah, like Ross said, it's like doing, stopping at all these different places and doing the research on them. It's pretty amazing. We've been to some really great places, and they're totally off the grid. Yeah, totally off the grid, and it's just like, wow. And hopefully we try to bring it to light. We try to tell these stories, and some of these places that people don't know about. So like Barkerville, that was amazing. It's like I've got to go back. I really want to go back.
The problem is when you get all these people who know, like, give you an example, the Quinnell Museum where Mandy the Haunted Doll is.
Yes, that was awesome.
The curators there loved the laugh because they get about 4 or 5 psychics a week walking in there saying that they're clearing the doll and they're clearing the museum. And we can sit there and laugh about it, but it gets frustrating, Amber, when you have all these people get to these spots and it's almost like they're tainting it because they don't know what they're doing or they don't understand what's there. They don't understand the mechanics of everything, but they're going to do their part in order to try and get things done.
Right.
Amber, your thoughts?
Yeah. I think that is one of the biggest things right now, especially, and just to kind of touch on like Canadian content and like that kind of thing too, Canada is in denial about a lot. We, as like the research that I've done, especially on places here in Canada that are supposed to be the most haunted, that have all of these stories, that have all of these things, you go and talk or try and do any research on them, and the places flat out deny that they have anything haunted about them. And, the Banff Hotel is one of the biggest ones. Everybody swears up, down, backwards, forwards. Yeah. It's haunted. But when you talk to any of the people that have anything to do with the hotel, they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And it's like everybody comes there to have an experience. And it's almost that catch-22 of like, okay, well, you're getting business because people are coming here because of this factor. But you're denying But you're denying that it's here, so you're potentially losing out on business. Like, I'm not saying go and, ruin the place because you want to go do a paranormal investigation. But there are the people who hear that it's haunted and they're like, oh, I want to go check that out.
Yeah.
But on that same token, there are so many people who think they know what they're doing and don't. Therefore, in turn, does ruin those places or make them actually haunted when they weren't to begin with in the first place. Because, you know, they tried to do a ritual and didn't do it properly, or they tried to, you know, close something and didn't actually do anything except potentially rip it further open, or whatever, you know, they end up doing.
Only that. You have people that'll go in claiming to be paranormal investigators, and the place may not be haunted, and yet they'll tell you all these stories and say, oh, yes, it's a demon over here, a demon over there, and now the place has stories to tell.
Yeah.
And those stories will be passed on to other people.
And I think, too, like, there are certain businesses that I know capitalize on the fact, especially in the States, that, hey, this place is haunted. You know, one of the biggest ones, all of the people that I love and admire on YouTube right now who are doing a lot of creepy paranormal content, you know, the big one right now is the Queen Mary. They've literally got a full trunk in that room that has a Ouija board, it has a scrying ball, it has all of these things. There's tarot cards and like everything else. And they're basically asking you to mess it up. Like they're basically asking any, you know, person to come in off the street and do something in that room that's going to make it more active or worse or whatever. Now I've never been there, so I don't know. Like I've never had personal experiences there, but you know, watching people do the YouTube videos, and I've seen people who are influencers that don't even touch paranormal stuff, and they're jumping on the Queen Mary bandwagon because it'll get them views and content. And it's people who I can sit there and go, I know you're faking all of your reactions that you're having because you just want the views. Like, you're not that good of an actor. And it's sad.
That's really sad.
It's really sad. It gives us a bad name for those of us who are really trying to do some good in the field, right?
How do you think I felt when Logan Paul interviewed Dr. Stephen Greer about UFOs earlier this year on his podcast? It was strictly about the clicks. That's all it was. He knew nothing about UFOs. You know, what do you do? We got about a minute to go here before we go to break at the top of the hour. Ghost of the Great White North continues. And it's easy to jump on, you know, what is wrong with the field. But when we come back, I want to get to what happened right this year, because I think that's important too. What happened right? God, we're all going to be having to put our thinking caps on for the break for this one.
Like,
we really are. But hey, we're going to try to find one positive thing, no, maybe two, on what happened in the year of ghost hunting in 2019. Because, you know, every year that goes by, it's easy to see the negative, but I think there's some positives out there, too. We'll just have to work hard to find them. Ghost of the Great White North happens the third Wednesday of every month. Normally, Merle Morin is with us. However, he is probably sitting in hospital right now after deciding to burn himself about 6 minutes before showtime. That's okay, though. We got Amber Beckerud. We got June Nixon. We got Ross Allison, who's got a fantastic beard, by the way, tonight. Fantastic beard. More Ghost of the Great White North right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. A Chainocarp. A Chainocarp is your password. Probably butchered that one, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, pick up great books at We Read the Night. We got the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all updated on the news with the SOR Newswire. We are taking in Ghosts of the Great White North, the final edition of 2019, right here on Spaced Out Radio. We are joined by Amber Beckerud, Ross Allison, and June Nixon, both from A Ghost out of Seattle. Boy, did I pause there. Seattle? How about Seattle, Dave? My goodness. You know, we got, normally we're joined by Mike Morin, who we call Merle around here, except about 6 minutes before we went to air, he had a little bit of an accident. He spilled hot tea all over himself, and he is now in hospital dealing with the burns of that. So if you can, just send him some well wishes. Merle would appreciate that. He's in a lot of pain right now. So anyways, we're going to get going here with the second hour of the show. 2019 was a year where we saw more television shows, more than ever, coming on paranormal TV on the cable networks.
Crazy.
It's totally crazy. You know what I find funny about that? Chuck Contreras, who owns KZFX and KDUN, who we broadcast on, him and I were talking. He helps us out with our syndication. And we were having a conversation about how it's amazing that television, especially cable television, is literally making millions of dollars off the paranormal due to the popularity. The ratings have never been higher on paranormal television, and this has been strong for the last 15, 16 years, which is extremely rare in any type of programming. It's literally competing with the NFL on a weekly basis.
Wow.
It really is. And the big thing about it is, what we find ironic is, as we try and grow Spaced Out Radio, is how terrestrial radio outside of the great Coast to Coast AM really has not jumped on the paranormal bandwagon for nighttime programming. Even Sirius XM does not have any paranormal programming. We talk on the media side on everything. Amber, why do you think this is? Why do you think that we have one genre that sees the benefit, that people are interested in these topics? It's not just ghosts. It's UFOs. It's Bigfoot. It's monsters. It's absolutely everything. Yet another giant medium in radio just is not jumping on that bandwagon at all.
I think part of it is that people want to see things. Exactly. And with radio, you don't see it.
All right. We're visually drawn.
Yeah.
As a society. It's like driving down the freeway, you see an accident to the left. We want to slow down and look.
Exactly.
You know?
And if you don't have anything to visualize, I know a lot of guys right now who now are videoing their podcasts and putting those videos up on YouTube as well. So you can still watch them talk. So that you still have something.
What we started doing, actually, our podcast, because it's like, why don't we just put videos so people can, see us talking and show books, things like that.
Exactly, right? Like, you're not necessarily getting to see actual evidence, but you get to see the people talking about it, and to be able to see people's faces and their reactions and how they're explaining things makes people feel more connected. And that's the biggest difference between radio and television is movies, TV shows, YouTube series, those types of things. People get connected to it because they can see and feel the emotions, not just hear the emotion. Anybody could affect their voice enough over the radio to make it sound like they're super serious or super excited or really, happy or sad or whatever. But they could actually not be feeling those emotions at all. Whereas if somebody's watching, they can actually get into that and be like, oh, no, this person really is serious. Right. They really did get that affected by it. Their face is going red. They're starting to cry. Like, there are good actors out there, but you can tell when somebody's forcing it and when it is something that truly deeply affected a person.
So I think, Dave, you should do naked radio.
Hey.
The video side, and you guys are very right about the video side, and that's one thing that we are going to try and do here in 2018. What the hell? I went 2014, now I'm going 2018. In 2020. At
too
least I'm
much
moving
hot
up
sauce,
in the world.
Dave. Too much hot sauce.
Yeah, too much Pepsi. But no, that's something that we're going to be doing for this show as well. Is we want to connect more back on camera. We used to broadcast the show live on Periscope, but I spent half the show, I couldn't even communicate with our audience in the chat rooms because it had so many trolls and fake accounts, and all of our, literally, we'd have like 35, 40 people in there, and I would be having to deal with half of them booting trolls who are from adult sites, adult content sites, or all sorts of things like that. And, you're blocking them, and there's, I would spend half my time blocking people, couldn't get to any questions, and eventually we had to kill that thought. But it is something that we have to do. I think that video version, that visual version, as you say, is something that we do need to improve on, because that's where people are going. It's also, I think, the advent of the podcast. There is so many out there right now in this genre, and no offense to anybody, there's some very, very good ones. But there's also, for every good one, you probably have 30 or 40 that really should not be on the air, and that's not an insult to them. Anybody can do what they want to have fun or just participate. But when you have companies like iTunes or you have companies like iHeartRadio who are adding everybody and their dog, it really dampens down the quality from the quantity, and the quality is not being shown. And that's what I see happening too. I mean, there are shows where when I scan through iHeartRadio, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, how? And I'm not saying that to be egotistical, but it's just how.
Right. But then also the issue is you're fighting for an audience, because now you have to compete with all these other shows. And a lot of people get turned away once they experience a bad show. That's the thing. It's like they don't give anybody else a chance. It's like, oh my God, this is boring. This is probably the third or fourth show that was bored, or they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So then you just lose your audience that way too.
Well, and I think too, the other bigger thing too right now is that YouTube is fielding our genre, and it's getting harder and harder for paranormal, horror, and UFO creators to get their stuff out there, because YouTube is basically hoarding them all in a little corner and being like, no, you guys can just stay over there. We're not going to, suggest your videos to other people and that kind of thing. So I know a lot of the people that I follow in the community have been very vocal on Twitter, especially in the last couple of months with all of the changes to choosing whether or not things are, content for kids and that kind of stuff, and just really struggling with finding their audience again. And I know I struggle with it too. Like, I do everything I possibly can to get my videos out there, use all the hashtags and do all that stuff. But I've probably got the same 7 or 8 people who are watching my videos because it's not showing it to anybody new outside of the Zach Bagans video, but that's just a whole nother planet.
June, what's your thoughts? You have a successful podcast going. You're fighting for audience every single time you go on the show, just like we are. What's your thoughts?
She does it in the nude. Come on.
We want people to watch. It is one of those things we just. It also depends who we have on the show. I mean, we had a really, really great author on the other day, and he had this amazing following of thousands of people. So it was just like when he got on there, all of a sudden it was just like everything was blown up, and the chat was like, we had all this, really fun activity in the chat room and everything. So that was a really, great thing. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think it's harder too now to find people who are willing to talk. I feel like because this genre is so small almost, that people get that high and mighty, like, I'm holier than thou attitude. So then when somebody approaches them and say like, hey, I'd really like you to come on my show, or I'd really like to collaborate with you, they're like, no.
Who are you?
Who are you? What do you have to do with this? Like,
how much?
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah, how much money? It's like,
how much are you?
I have to say this, but this is kind of a volunteer thing. I give you maybe $10. Here's some lunch.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing too, right? Like, and it makes it harder for us to network.
It is. It is hard. Sometimes you do contact some of these people and say, I saw you on this show, and I really love to have you on here to tell your side of the story, or to tell what happened behind the scenes or everything like this. And they're like, I really don't have time, for something like this. I'm really, really busy. And
oh yes, I had one of those new television people actually do that to me.
Oh,
he knew for about 6 weeks, 8 weeks that he was coming on the show, that it was a 2.5 hour interview. And then all of a sudden, about 3 days before he was to air on the show, his publicist, I guess, contacted me on email saying, he could only do half an hour. And I said, no, he already agreed to 2.5 hours. I'm not letting down my audience that way. And then it goes, okay, well, he can maybe do an hour. I said, that's not good enough. We agreed to the 2.5 hours. Everything was great. So what has changed? Now all of a sudden his television show is on the air. And I questioned her. I said, the television show is now on the air, and all of a sudden he can't do it. And then after about the 5th email exchange, then I get, he has a late night flight that he has to catch. And I just said, and I just said, you know what? Guess what? We have thousands of people who listen to this show live, on demand, recorded, podcast. I said, we don't need him. I said, as far as I'm concerned, we're not doing the interview. I'm rescinding the request, and I have no intention of having this person insult my audience. I just won't.
Exactly.
I can't. I work too damn hard for each and every one of these people each and every night to try and bring the best. And trust me, there are times that I am struggling, not to make it a woe is Dave kind of thing, but there are times that I am struggling for energy.
I can imagine. Oh.
But these people out here listening in listener land, they want the best. They want the best that we can bring, and that's why they have chosen to listen to us. And if we're going to have a guest all of a sudden say, hey, I want to cut it down to 30 minutes because I'm a television star now. I'm sorry, we don't have time for you. Like there have been times, like for instance, let's use Ross as an example here. If Ross came up to me and he agreed to come on the show, but all of a sudden something happens, we have a relationship where he would be like, hey, Dave, you may want to find somebody else, but this is the time I got. I've just been called out of town. I have to take this flight, or I have to take this meeting, or whatever. You know what? Not a problem.
Right, because you know him.
Not a problem. Exactly. But when we're getting down to 2 days before showtime, and I'm getting into an email jousting match with a publicist, don't need it. Don't need it at all. And you know, the audience and protecting them is more important to me than getting some named guest on the show. You know? You know, a lot of shows will try and get all of those big name people because they think it adds to the credibility and all that. And hey, we love it too. I love it when we get David Weatherly or John Tenney or you know, Grant Cameron on the show. You name it, I love it. Our audience loves it. David Politis, holy cow, that was a fantastic show that we did. But I also like hearing from the people who don't get the exposure, because what I've noticed is usually there are diamonds in the rough. And when
that's how you found me.
Exactly. No, but that's true.
But
that
I
is
think
completely
also,
true.
I think in that situation, you also get probably more honesty. I think there's this point in your and when somebody becomes more famous, then they have this, you know, persona they have to, you know, put out there, and that's where you lose that honesty. And so I think you have that diamond in the rough is when they're not that famous and they have nothing to prove. You know, they can just be themselves.
Absolutely. Yep. Question coming from the audience. This comes from Joe in California. We never know if it's Joe or his beautiful hair, which is very powerful. Is asking the question. Yeah, he's got a beautiful hair.
Is there jealousy there?
Yes.
Dave has beautiful hair too.
Yeah, I mean. Not like Joe's. Definitely not like Joe. You know. I'll let you in on a little secret. I actually, I was so jealous of Joe's beard a couple of years ago that when he shaved it, he actually sent me the clippings, and I have the clippings in the studio here. I do. No. I'm not going to lie. I have Joe's beard clippings in the studio here. Anyways, Joe is asking, in 2019, June, we'll start with you, as we got about 4.5 minutes before we go to break here. What was your scariest paranormal experience of 2019?
Oh, scariest in 2019. Oh, my gosh. Refresh my memory. What did we do in 2019? Because we went to a lot of places. We had our haunted road trip in, the Moundsfield. Moundsville, West Virginia, when we were in the cafeteria. And all of a sudden we were sitting there and we're doing an EVP session, and we see, it looks like a person standing in the cafeteria in the prison, because we're doing an investigation there. And at first I just thought it was just a pole or something, explain it. And then all of a sudden we all start getting goosebumps and the heebie-jeebies, and we look at the pole again, and the pole had just moved and there was nobody else there. And so I wouldn't call it scary, but it was exciting. It was amazing, and we got goosebumps and everything. But I don't get scared very often. Like I say, I do get startled every once in a while, but maybe the last time there was like this mouse that kept trying to crawl up my pant leg. That was a little scary.
It's not the dead you have to be afraid of, it's the living, right?
Yeah, the living is what really scares me. But,
how about for you, Amber?
I didn't really do anything too absolutely terrifying this year, to be quite honest. I think the best unexplainable one for me, though, that really startled more than just myself was the place that I was working up until a little while ago. They decorate it for Christmas. It's a hotel, and they have all of those like fake elves that are like the really creepy ones with the pointy faces. Oh, I hate them. But they had them sitting all around the lobby, and one of them is sitting in a cubby, and it's weighted so that it's fully sitting up all the time. Mm-hmm. And it was across the bar from us. And this thing, if it had actually been pushed or shifted or whatever, it should have fallen forward out of the cubby with the way that its legs were dangling. There were two people at the front desk, which is about 40 feet from where this thing was. We were behind the bar, which is probably like 150 feet away from where this thing is. And nobody else was around. Nobody was in the bar, nothing. And my coworker and I and the front desk staff both watched this elf come backwards out of the cubby and hit the fireplace in the middle of the bar. And then hit the ground. Wow. Nobody knows what happened at all.
That's pretty cool.
Like, we tried putting it back and pushing it, making drafts happen, like, nothing. We have no idea what happened. And it was literally a week ago. Like, the weirdest experience by far for this year.
Wow. I hear you. Ross, how about for you? As we got about 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Oh, you leave me with the shortest one. I actually...
we could continue it afterwards. I want to hear some good good Ross Allison yelping stories.
To be honest with you, I don't think I actually have any good ones this year.
Did we have any this year?
I think the scariest thing was actually when I've had to stay in a room with June, and
Hey. I'm sorry, I can't go to bed with a full face of makeup.
I do have to say, probably a real scary moment for me was nothing to do with the paranormal. It was actually in Barkerville when we were turning in for the night, and I had cut myself, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. And and of course, June's asleep, and I'm in the bathroom.
Sorry,
bleeding
he
to death.
He could have bled to death. I would have found you in the morning and called somebody.
Well, you know what? We're going to leave it right there, Ross. We'll get back to you when we come back from the break, because I'm thinking of my scariest story of 2019, and I didn't have any encounters with my former mother-in-law, so it was pretty safe this year. So that was pretty good. More Ghosts of the Great White North, Ross Allison, June Nixon, Amber Beckerud from Cryptid Tales on our YouTube channel. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Reminder to all of you, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. We also have our Space Travelers Club up for $5 a month. Yeah. Hey, if you're in Seattle, that's cheaper than a Starbucks coffee. I don't know what size because I can't speak coffee, but I know it's cheaper. And, of course, Captain Shirk has the SOR Newswire updated daily. Hey, we got an update from Merle here. He's in the hospital. He burnt his thighs, calves, stomach, arms, and a few other areas. And he's not doing very well right now. So we got to send some thoughts. So literally, if you're just turning in and wondering where's Merle on Ghosts of the Great White North, well, he about 6 minutes before showtime, he thought it would be a great idea to dump some hot tea on himself. And I'm joking because he is one of my best friends. But he actually had a horrific little accident where he spilled boiling hot tea all over himself accidentally while he was getting ready for the show, and had to call an ambulance to come pick him up, and because he's got some nasty, nasty burns. So please send him some well wishes. We are joined tonight by Amber Beckerud from Cryptid Tales on our YouTube channel, and from A Ghost. Where's it? A Ghost. Is it A Ghost or A Ghost?
It depends on how you pronounce the A. But I would say
you want an A or an A?
A ghost.
Well, okay.
A ghost.
Ross Allison and June Nixon are with us. Ross, your scariest encounter in 2019. Did you meet my ex-mother-in-law?
No, I didn't meet your ex-mother-in-law. You know, to be honest, I really can't recall anything from just that year. You know, we've had some amazing experiences. We have traveled all over the world. I'm trying to think. You know, our road trip, the prison, was actually a pretty interesting experience because I know June talked about her experience. You know, seeing the shadow figure, and just after they had that experience, they wandered off because it was we had a team of 6 and we had the prison to ourselves. And so it was the girls against the guys. So the girls, you know, went off and did their thing. And so we had just crossed paths when they were leaving the cafeteria area where they had their experience. And we were coming into the cafeteria. They were leaving the cafeteria. And I remember we went into the back area of the cafeteria in the kitchen area. So while you're in the kitchen area, they have these huge, windows that look out into the cafeteria And I remember just looking out the windows and watching, someone walk across the cafeteria. And I first thought, oh, it's, one of the girls, they'd come back. But then I just realized after seeing that, they were walking in complete darkness. And, everybody had flashlights as we were walking around in this, prison. So that's when it just kind of clicked on me. It's like, oh my God, I think I actually saw a possible apparition, just walk across this cafeteria area.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think for me, my scariest moment this year would have probably been out at Flight 21. And for people who don't know, that's where Canada's largest mass murder happened, when a plane back in 1965 blew up in the air. 54 people died that day. And we were doing an investigation around there. And this was with, I believe it was Bill Hauser, a Vancouver paranormal investigator, comes on for our Ghost Box sessions. It was myself and Bazooka Joe and his wife, Bazookette Joe, better known as Mark and Tara. You know them, Ross.
Oh, yeah.
And we were out there, and Bill was asking for a name. And this name came across, and afterwards we all went for dinner, and we pulled up the list of names on the flight, and that name was there.
Wow.
That was kind of freaky. Then we went back with Merle about a month and a half later, and there's cougar tracks and droppings all over the area. That was yeah. So here we have a big cat hanging around. We probably scared it off, or it was up a tree and we just didn't see it while we were nosing around there. But I'll tell you, that was a little freaky, is hearing that name come across and then getting that confirmation. When you're literally walking on a scattered graveyard of a plane crash, I don't say that to brag or anything like that. It is scary. Mm-hmm. You can feel the emotion and the tension. And that's why I want to get you up here, you and David up here, Ross, in the springtime or when the snow is all fully melted. So that way we could take you out there, because it is a jaunt to get out there.
Oh, yeah. I know June wants to go back, too. She definitely would love to do Barkersville again.
Yeah, that was so cool.
And then I just got tipped off. I got tipped off to a story that I was talking to a lady, and Ross, I used your line. You'll be proud of me here. There's a little town called Clinton. When you're driving north towards where I live, there's a little town called Clinton, and literally it has these curiosity antique shops everywhere. There's like 6 or 7 of them. So I walk into one because I've always wanted to go in there. And on Sunday, I was coming home from doing some shopping a couple hours away for Christmas. And I just said, screw it, I'm stopping in there. Walk in there, meet this lovely lady named Lori. I said, so I used Ross Allison's line. Do you have anything strange or weird in here? And she goes, how? And I said, haunted. And she goes, yeah, that we usually sell out of that stuff really quick. I said, really? She goes, yeah, we got a lot of online people or people just drop it in. She goes, you should be here at like 8 o'clock at night. She goes, at 8 o'clock, everything strange starts to happen. And if I had the money, Ross, if I had the $2,000, I would have bought this thing for your museum. I really would have. It's a man trap.
A man trap.
It is.
Sounds like something I need.
It is 100 and some years old. Came from England, where it's like a giant bear trap, except trying to catch poachers on people's yards, where they would literally, this thing would take off your leg.
Oh.
Yeah,
ouch.
and And I was thinking, I wonder how much carnage this thing has. This would be perfect for Roth's Museum of Death and Darkness and killer human traps. You know,
There you go.
but I did think of you. Yeah.
I'm glad you thought of me. Definitely. Some of those torture devices when you go out to Europe and you tour some of these castles.
Wow. Chillingham Castle, Chillingham Castle when they had the Dungeon Museum. Oh my gosh. And the chair with spikes and the Iron Maiden, and they had all of this, the rack. It was just like, oh my God. I can't even imagine.
I couldn't imagine either. Let's move on. In the paranormal this year, we see a lot of people going around and using the ghost box. What type of technology do you think in 2019, Ross, has really improved ghost hunting for the year?
Well, the thing is the technology continues to advance, which is a plus for us, but it also has gotten worse because as technology simplifies and becomes more affordable, we're finding situations where some of these people are building devices to manipulate the ghost hunters. They're building devices that utilize GPS. So now they know when this device is in a very popular haunted place, it can spew out words that relate to that place, making it more credible for the investigator, thinking that they're dealing with something paranormal when it's not. It was programmed to do that. With voice recognition software, it can now repeat words that you say later, and so then people take that as true paranormal, experiences when it's not. It's just being manipulated. These devices are constantly being more and more suggestive when it comes to a lot of that stuff. Now, with the technology of Siri and Alexa, you can actually talk to one of these devices and it has the intelligence to answer your question. It's not paranormal whatsoever. It's just a program. And so this is happening more and more in the paranormal field, especially when people are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these devices, and it upsets me because I see people post online, oh my God, I've got to save up for this $300, piece of equipment. And they struggle, to make ends meet, but yet they want to save $300 for this device, which I'll be honest with you is a piece of crap. But, people will do that because they've seen it on TV. And they see the amazing results that they get on these television shows, so it's got to be legit. And that is not the case. Again, people want to put too much faith in a lot of these television shows, and that's not the case. And it's kind of heartbreaking. So, for me, the technology, I really focus on devices that aren't really meant for ghost hunting. Because when you go to a device like an EMF detector, it was not made for ghost hunting. EMF detectors were developed to see how much EMF was going into your brain when you were talking on your cell phone, especially when cell phones first came out, because they wanted to see how much radiation was going into your brain. And so that was, the first attempts for the EMF detectors. And then, of course, you find a lot of these tools. And one of the things I want to point out is there is no such thing as a device that's going to tell you have a ghost in your home. There's no such thing as a ghost meter. So the best we can do as paranormal investigators is to take tools that help us to read the environment and tell us if there's changes in the environment that we can't explain. That is honestly the best we can do. I find that there's far too many devices out there that are suggestive. And I know there's a lot of people that love the ghost boxes, that love the ovuluses and stuff like that. And I find, in a lot of these situations, those devices are easily being manipulated too by the creators that make these. And there's a lot of psychological aspects when it comes to some of these devices. And I don't want to go into the whole thing, but I just find that the best way to get in, to take it serious, is just to use some of the devices, the simple devices that help you to read the environment and let us know if there are changes to the environment. Don't always, rush out to spend, $10,000, $300 to $500 on a device, hoping that it's going to solve the answers as to what's happened at this haunted house, because there are far too many groups that depend on that.
Right.
I got a question coming in from the SOR Space Travelers Club from Joey. And June, we'll start with you on this. He is asking, do you draw the line as to a location being respected and not investigated?
You mean draw the line if I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Just that it's
let's just say it's a sacred place. Let's just say it's just for argument's sake here. Let's say it's a native burial ground or a place where 14 children were killed or something along those lines. Is there a respect place for certain areas that shouldn't be touched?
Oh, man. There is such a fine line with that. If it's something that's like over 150, 200 years old, oh, man. Come on, Ross, help me out on this one.
Well,
I'm going to say the wrong thing.
It is a tough decision, because we've had prime examples where somebody just recently lost a loved one. I've had families where they just recently lost their child, and immediately they want us to come in and investigate their home. And for me, it's just like, well, wait a minute. You're still going through the grieving process. This is too soon for us to get involved in a situation where obviously you still have a lot of healing to do. So for me, I would say, yes, there's a level of respect that you have to carry when you go into this field. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to get to Ground Zero in New York and investigate, where the Twin Towers, came down. And that is, a very hard thing to deal with, because you also have to realize that you're dealing with people that are still grieving. People are still around that had to deal with that experience. And for some people, that can easily be a trigger. So I think, if you're going to investigate a place, especially where a tragic event has happened, there has to be this time where you have to let those who have had to deal with that situation move on with their lives. So their generation has already, moved on and passed, so that then you can go in and investigate it and not have to deal with the fact that there are going to be people that are going to be like, how disrespectful are you to be investigating this place where my grandmother just died?
Right. Well, that's one thing we do too. When Ross and I like to visit a lot of the cemeteries and churchyards and graveyards around the world. And that's one thing too. We don't want to film or take pictures of graves that are new graves. We kind of, do a lot of that with stones and monuments that are at least, over, 100, at least probably about 100 years old, things like that. But, just for respect, just to be respectful, we don't want to go, somebody that was just buried last week and, put those pictures up somewhere.
So, so to answer the question, there is a level of respect you do have to carry.
Just that line.
So,
Amber, what's your thoughts?
I think I'd have to agree with that. I mean, I know Mike and I talked about this on a previous episode of Ghosts of the Great White North, and saying that, I'm more likely to stop at a graveyard that has been, forgotten, abandoned, has no new graves past a certain date in it, than exactly something that is still currently being buried, having people buried in it. Or going to the older sections of the newer cemeteries. There's always going to be those old sections that, definitely don't get touched anymore. So if you can kind of corral yourself to that area, it's a little bit easier to do. But that's part of the reason why I don't want to do home investigations. I don't want those people calling me being like, hey, I just had so-and-so pass away in my life. I want to know if they're still around. I don't want to deal with that.
And in those situations, and it does happen, I've experienced it, a handful of times, I just tell them what they could do. I say, obviously, if there is somebody there that you just recently lost and they are trying to communicate to you, obviously, we're not going to be able to help you in that situation. They want to talk to you, not to us.
Exactly.
So you just tell them, how to do an EVP session. Take a tape recorder out, hit record and start asking questions. If they're there, they will talk to you.
Yeah. We just had a case not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. And, I just have to say Ross did such an amazing job with this woman that was just really grieving, and she had just lost her father, and there were a lot of issues going on, and Ross just did such a good job with her and told her kind of what to do, and she was so grateful for that, and I just think that was wonderful.
And sometimes that's all it takes is you don't have to put out forth your time and energy to investigate this place because they feel that, grandpa's haunting the place. Just tell them, if you feel that it is a loved one, obviously they want to communicate to you. So just here are some of the things that you could do. And it really helps them out quite a bit, because a lot of times they're calling us because they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And they're grieving and they're sad and
they just want advice.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone to listen to.
What about famous locations, though? I think that's maybe where Joey was trying to go with that is as we got about 3.5 minutes here before we go to break. Famous locations. I'm thinking, where there's been tragedy. 9/11 was brought up, where the Twin Towers were. Or I'm thinking, somebody has, even though it's been torn down, there's probably some moron out there who's decided to think that it would be cool to investigate Sandy Hook or places like that.
Yeah.
See, to me, that seems... not just that it's too new, but for me, it seems highly disrespectful and a black eye on the community.
Yeah.
Here's a prime example here. There was somebody, I won't mention names, but there is somebody well known in the paranormal field that whenever a famous celebrity dies, they're immediately out there trying to capture them on the ghost box. And I feel for me that's kind of disrespectful.
We talk Steve Huff. We talk Steve Huff here. So
you said it, not you.
Yeah, you're allowed. There's no disrespect for disrespecting him. So,
Yeah,
but I'm just
very
saying
disrespectful.
I think that's a prime example. It's just like, people are still grieving. And when you have that situation where there's still a lot of grieving around the situation, then it's not the time to be out there trying to publicize yourself and trying to do an investigation.
Exactly.
Let those people move on and heal. Then when that situation is long and gone and forgotten about, then I think it's okay to come in and see if there might be something there. Because if there is something there, it's going to be there 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years from then.
I agree.
Amber?
Yeah, 100%. It comes down to the capitalization market. It happens in the paranormal. It happens in everyday life. Some big tragic thing happens or some new trend starts and everybody's on it like, flies on a pile of what, right? It's
like a cat meme.
Were you eating Tide Pods? Were you eating Tide Pods? Be honest.
No, thank you.
They're delicious.
But it is one of those things, everybody wants to try and capitalize on the fact that this thing is happening, and it's not necessarily right. I think we can get away with places like some of the penitentiaries and the sanatoriums and stuff because they have been shut down for so long that a lot of those patients, maybe their relatives are still around, but the patients may not still be here. Right. So it's a little bit easier to go ahead and deal with those things. It's still a rough subject even for me, but yeah, I think people just don't give enough time. That energy will always be there. If it's there, it's there. And it doesn't need to be today.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's plenty of other places to investigate.
Exactly.
Yep.
I could just imagine if I look back at my radio career in Vancouver, I remember showing up at the place where Robert Pickton killed all those women on the day of. It was busted. I could never imagine going down there to play Ghost Hunter to do that. I just couldn't. Yeah. That's just something I just couldn't do. Guys, you hold on. We got Ross Allison, June Nixon, and Amber Beckerud for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 3. Then we get to the SOR Newswire, the Thought of the Day. Hour 3 coming up on the Mighty SOR.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Themer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning us in as we get hour number 3 underway. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM. Down in Reedsport, Oregon, we're on KDUN AM 1030 and KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight at the SOR Space Travelers Club. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Achaeanocarp. Achaeanocarp? Is that it, Clam? I don't know, but the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault because you'd look good in one of our shirts, especially around Christmas time. We got the great books at We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk keeps us up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, it's Ghosts of the Great White North. It happens the third Wednesday of every month. The last appearance before 2020. We're without Merle tonight. He had a little bit of an injury about 6 minutes before showtime. He's now in hospital with burns after spilling hot tea all over his legs accidentally. And honestly, he sent me some photos. It does not look good, but he's doing all right in hospital right now. But we still have, from a ghost in Seattle, June Nixon. We have Ross Allison, and all the way from Newfoundland and Labrador. Where's it, Labrador and Newfoundland? One of the two. All right, it's Newfoundland and Labrador. We have Amber Beckerud from Space Out Radio's Cryptid Tales on our YouTube channel. So that's at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been fun.
Looking towards the new decade, 2020, we have a lot of things going on coming up this as we switch decades, we switch years. It's a big one this year because, let's face it, we all know disclosure is happening in 2020 according to the experts and the pundits, and I'm kidding on that. All right. When it comes to ghost hunting going into the new decade, Ross, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do we need to improve on? Where do we need to take investigations to a new level to actually try and prove something is going on?
Honestly, we need to go back. We need to go back to the basics. The problem that we have is the media, especially all these television shows, have taught people the wrong way to ghost hunt. I think we need to simplify things. Go back to our roots. Using some of the simplest tools, I think, would help out, because ghost hunting has been so sensationalized that most people, when they go out at them, and because of these television shows, they've given them the false reality as to what really happens out there. So I think to better ourselves, we need to erase all that and go back to the way it was. You know, because me and David Weatherly were having a long discussion about this. It seems like the true ghost hunter is a giant breed. People want to focus on the instant gratification when investigating. You know, that is one of the biggest problems we have in this field, is they want to go in and have that, you know, instant experience and then walk away and say, okay, I'm done with this place. And I really think we just really need to go back to our roots. I really do.
When you say go back to our roots, do you mean that we got to get more in tune with what we are dealing with? Or are you saying go back to the roots as screw the technologies, you know, hell with what you've seen on TV, just let's get back to basics?
Well, I like to get back to basics, but the technology has always been there. You know, granted, it wasn't as advanced as it is today, but back in the day, they still tried to apply technology to prove their experiences. You know, cameras, recorders, that was all technology for them. I think we need to, you know, granted, use what we have available for us today, but use it correctly. You know, don't just run out there with the simplified, you know, ovuluses and ghost boxes and say that this is my proof that there is something paranormal going on. There is so much more out there to validate these people's experiences. And I think that's what we need to do. I'd love to see film come back. You know, people are so focused on the digital era, and I get it. It saves money, instant gratification. You see exactly what you're experiencing right away. But it's also a totally different processing. It's a chemical processing, and I think there's a lot of things we're missing out on by not using film. We're missing out on things by not using our old tapes, you know. I think we're so focused on the digital era that we're not going back to some of these devices that we're capturing phenomena that we don't use anymore. And I'd love to see that come back as well.
How about you, June?
Well, that's one thing, too, that Ross says that I'll go ahead and quote him. When he says, go with what you know and not with what you think you know. That's like going into a lot of these places and doing a lot more research on these places that you do go to when you investigate. Not just go with the story. See what you can find with these stories. Because sometimes some of these stories are passed down, through generations. But there's no basis of fact anywhere in those stories, or there's some portal that's in there, and it's like
and a great example of this is where you have a situation where let's say a place is haunted, they call in a team, the psychic comes in who we don't know is a credible psychic or not. We'll sit there and say, oh yes, what's happening here is a little girl, she's haunting this place because she lost her doll, and so she's wandering around looking for her doll. Well, now that story is going to be passed on for generation and generation, whether we know if there's anything valid behind that or not. That becomes the story of this location just because someone came in and claiming to be a psychic and told that story. And we experience that time and time again.
Oh, yes.
Where people will tell us these stories and claim that this is what happened because a psychic came in and told them that this is what happened. Well, it's great. I don't personally know this psychic, so I can't tell you how credible this person was or not. So for me, how my team operates is we have to strip down the phenomena to the simplest form. We can't just say, okay, well, obviously it's a little girl haunting this place. Well, we have no clue if it's a little girl or not.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as June said, as I've always said, go with what you know and not with what you think you know. And that's how my team operates when we investigate.
Mm-hmm. I'd also really like to. Oh, I was going to say what
opinion in on
okay.
I think it's all. I agree. Maureen had tweeted me saying, tweeted us on the Spaced Out Radio hashtag, just saying that that's one of the reasons she absolutely loves Most Haunted, and it's because they don't use the tech. I haven't watched newer seasons, so I don't know if they have used tech or if it's changed at all. But I know when I first started watching it when I was a kid, it was just a lot of just being there, sensing, feeling, and just living in the moment for what was happening. And I think that's, like I said earlier, I try to do that with my own investigations. I'd rather sense, feel, hear, smell, see, touch, whatever, than rely on the tech and the things that have evolved while still using the technology. But again, using things that weren't made for ghost hunting or, trying to have multiple answers across the platforms, So if you get, confirmation here, and confirmation here, it lends a little bit more credibility to it. But you still don't have a definite answer. It's not like somebody's coming up to you, shaking your hand, being like, hi, I'm a ghost.
That would be awesome.
That would be great. But, we're never... I don't think we're unless we figure out some way to, get into the space-time continuum and whatever. And I think a lot of it, too, comes down to, it's funny that you mentioned film. I really want to start taking a Polaroid camera with me on investigations.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Or disposable camera.
Yeah, I love that case that was known as the Ghost Rider, where the writing was showing up on the Polaroid film.
Imprinted on the Polaroid film, That was pretty cool.
See, what I want to see in 2020 is, and we've mentioned this a lot over the last year, I want to see everything kind of come together. The one thing, Ross, I like about you, David Weatherly, John Tenney, and there are so few out there that are actually trying to find that invisible thread that seems to connect the paranormal to cryptids and to UFOs and ET contact and to other weird, strange phenomena that is going on out there. Because there seems to be this this cyclical area where you're going to get paranormal, you're likely going to see UFOs, or if you see Bigfoot, there's likely going to be fairies around. And we hear so many cases like that, but very few are actually trying to tie it all together to find out what that common thread is. And I think heading into 2020, into the next decade, we really need to focus on trying to figure out what that thread is. Is it even possible, Ross, to look for it?
Well, I think for anything, if you're going to try and connect them all, the problem is when it comes to the paranormal, for whatever, from the cryptid, UFOs, and all that stuff, they are such a widespread phenomena. We're not going to get anywhere. It's the same thing with ghosts. It's all spread out so thin that we're not going to get anywhere unless we focus on a certain aspect of each of these phenomena. Once we have a better understanding of just one of them, then we could probably bring them together or find a common factor in them all. But to be honest with you, most paranormal investigators are just all over the place.
Right. Mm-hmm.
June, your thoughts?
No, I was thinking the same thing. Everyone is just kind of all over the place. Nobody can really come together on anything. It's like we can't even agree. There's so many groups with so many different opinions and so many secrets. They want to keep all their stuff together in their little group. They don't want to share it with anybody because, God forbid, another group is going to come in and steal their secrets.
Or disprove what they said.
Or disprove what they say. I think a lot of people are afraid of that. And,
Well, that also gets to Tripp's question from earlier on, June, about teams trying to lock down locations with contracts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with contracts, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that going on.
Well, sometimes there are a lot of teams that kind of latch onto a place, and once they latch onto that place, the owner actually gets to know them, and they trust that team. And then if any other teams want to come in, that team kind of is in charge to scrutinize the other team that wants to come in and investigate. And if they say no to the owner won't let them in. That's happened quite a few times out here. That's one thing that I think is really good about our team is we try really hard to we like to hear what another team experienced in the same place, because if we all get almost the same EVPs or the same evidence at a place, that just lends the more credibility that this place is haunted. And, it's
sad that there are a lot of groups out there that are very territorial.
Yeah, extremely.
But a lot of this comes from the fact, too, that some of these places have had bad experiences with other groups.
Yeah.
So when a group that seems to, work with them as the owners on a better level, then they seem to clamp onto that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what is unfortunate, because I've always told a lot of these owners of these haunted properties, it's great you have a group that you work with that you trust. That's fine, but I always say, just like when somebody's dealing with health issues, always get a second opinion, to see if there's other options or see if there's something else to it. And if you find that both of these groups walk away with the exact same phenomena and same experiences, all it does is it makes your experiences more credible and their, investigation habits more credible as well.
Yeah, Dave, you don't know how many times that we have had to come in and somebody else has kind of called us there because they had another group right before us. They came in and told them that they had a demon in here, and the psychic said that there was this headless woman that walked the halls, and she was going to, try to kill any young virgin that walked the halls too. Just crazy, crazy stuff. And then we come in there and we hardly get any evidence, in the place. And they either look at us like you guys must not know what you're doing because the other group had all this incredible evidence and you guys didn't have anything. And it's just like, but we've had to clean up a lot of, I would say, messes. Right after another group has come in or something. So it's really, really something.
What's your thoughts there? What's your thoughts, Amber?
I think, for me, I haven't had to experience that, mostly just because I'm still a baby investigator, if you want to call it that, right? I don't, and I think a lot of the problems here too for us in Canada and investigating places in Canada is that because businesses or people or what have you are in denial about the places that they have that are haunted, or the places that, on Creepy Canada were talked about are haunted, they're literally owned by the Canadian government. And how many hoops am I going to have to jump through to go investigate under the Canadian government legitimately instead of having to go in on business hours when there are other people there and still do my investigations? And, that's something that I faced with my first episode of my series. We had to go during daylight hours because it's a historic site. So we had to go during daylight hours. We made it an hour before they closed because everything was against us that trip. And I should have just, called it at the end of the day and said, we're done. But, we had to go stay away from all the construction that was happening. So we had, there's a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. If you hear things that we're not reacting to, it's probably the construction because we can't avoid that. So it becomes hard in that sense, I can't even imagine having to go in and clean up messes from other investigation groups or trying to say I can't tell you why we didn't get anything because we just didn't,
Right. And people tend to forget, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. But
right.
There are situations.
Not saying it's not haunted, yeah.
Yeah. There are situations, though, where these clients are truly terrified, on the verge of, trying to put themselves through financial stress to sell the house and get out of it because this previous group came in and has told them all this crap, And that is what is so hard for us, is because you have to talk these people off the ledge and say, well, wait a minute, I'm sorry you've been told this stuff. But again, it's all going back to reinventing the wheel and saying, hey, we need to back up here. Forget what they told you.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. Tell us what you are experiencing. And then again, it's all about going with what you know and not with what you think you know.
Yeah.
And it's so many time again, we've had to talk these clients off the ledge because they have been given this information, this false information, or these exaggerated experiences that have terrified these people.
I think the other hard part too here is, I'm pretty good at investigating and researching the places that I'm going to and that kind of stuff. But I feel like Canada as a country has such a poor system of keeping track of our history that, we have Cape Spear here, which was a massive army base and battery and everything else. And we know there's about 20 minimum people who have died off those cliffs. Do you think I could find one frickin' story about those people who have died off those cliffs? Not a chance. But somewhere there's one diary page that has a story about how a guy threw garbage over the cliff and got taken into the ocean with the garbage. It's just, but the ability to find
stories. Those are amazing stories.
Yeah. But then, to actually have the evidence. When you can find them.
Oh, for sure. We've only got about 90 seconds left with all of you tonight. And I want to start to finish off by saying that it has been an absolute pleasure to have all three of you on Spaced Out Radio, not only for tonight, but especially Ross and Amber, because, June, this is your first time on the show. And
it is my first time.
What a pleasure.
We weren't gentle.
Yes, we weren't gentle.
Apparently neither was Merle. Apparently neither was Merle. But June, I loved hearing how candid you are. I'd love to bring you back on, maybe awesome. For a round table or something along those lines. But I got to say, what a year you guys have helped make it. Thank you so much for promoting what we do here and the hard work that you guys continue to do as well. It's very much appreciated on this end for everything that you guys do.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah. And Ross, do me a favor, give a quick shout out to your Spooked in Seattle.
Definitely. Anybody in the Seattle area want to learn about our ghosts, history, and a little bit about the death, check out Spooked in Seattle at spookedinseattle.com. We've actually been voted as one of the top ghost tours in America, which is a huge honor for such a young city. So definitely check us out. We have tours, ghost hunts, all kinds of fun stuff. If you want to learn more about a ghost ourselves, you can check out our website at aghost.org. We keep up on some of the evidence that we've collected and some of the investigation places we've even visited. We even do a lot of live feeds from some of the amazing places we visit all over the world. And then, of course, if you want to check out some of my books, go to Amazon, look up Ross Allison.
Or spaceoutradio.com. We read the night because we got you covered, Ross. Coming up next, we have the Thought of the Dave and the SOR Newswire. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio after this.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind all of you, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book at We Read the Night. We got the Space Travelers on sale for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has all of your news with the SOR Newswire. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, and sometimes the impeachable. If you don't know, or you haven't read the news, or you've been in a dark cave all day, President Donald Trump was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives, becoming only the third American chief executive to be formally charged under the Constitution's ultimate remedy for high crimes and misdemeanors. The historic vote split along party lines Wednesday night, much the way it has divided the nation over a charge that the 45th sitting president abused the power of his seat by enlisting a foreign government to investigate a political rival ahead of the 2020 election. The House then approved a second charge that he obstructed Congress in its investigation. The articles of impeachment, the political equivalent of an indictment, now go to the Senate for trial. If Trump is acquitted by the Republican-led chamber, as expected, he would still have to run for re-election, carrying the enduring stain of impeachment on his purposely disruptive presidency. The president is impeached, Nancy Pelosi declared after the vote. She called it a great day for the Constitution of the United States, a sad one for America that the president's reckless activities necessitated us having to introduce articles of impeachment. Trump, who began his day tweeting his anger at the proceedings, pumped his fist before an evening rally in Battle Creek, Michigan, boasting of tremendous support in the Republican Party, saying, "By the way, it doesn't feel like I'm being impeached." The votes for impeachment were 230 to 197. One abstained on the first charge, and then on the second, 229 to 198, and one abstention on the second. Yeah, this is getting ugly down there. Very, very ugly. All right, let's move on here. Veteran climbers of Mount Everest are skeptical that proposed new regulations by the Nepalese government to tighten the permit process for adventurers will address the root causes of this year's heavy death toll on the world's tallest peak. American mountaineers Ed Visters and Alan Arnett said planned new laws, if they are introduced at all, are unlikely to tackle the growing trend of inexperienced climbers rushing in packs to scale Mount Everest. "I've seen this movie so many times, it's totally predictable," Arnett says in a media interview. "Every year since 2013, something goes wrong, and the Nepal government, announce all these new rules and regulations, and they're never implemented." 11 climbers died on Mount Everest this year, 9 on the Nepali side and 2 on the Tibetan side. Many perished when a rush to climb the mountain during a short window of suitable weather in late May led to a traffic jam near the summit. To see the interactive photo, all you got to do is Google it if you haven't seen it already. Most teams opt to go for the summit, whether the first weather window is predicted, Visters said. "Everyone is afraid of missing what might be the one and only perfect day. There are typically several good summit days, but there's pressure to go when everyone else goes." Nepal has traditionally issued climbing permits to anyone prepared to pay the $11,000 fee, handing out a record 381 passes this year. With essential Sherpas and guides added, more than 800 people were trying to reach the summit during the short weather window in 2019. Now, this is scary. Very scary. Mary Hismus, a backpacker in Australia, horrified the internet after uploading pictures of a Christmas tree with venomous snakes coiled around it. "Snakes hanging on a Christmas tree in Melbourne," read the caption on his Facebook photo posted by Maxime Zimmerman. Yeah, the picture shows 3 poisonous serpents wrapped around a tinsel-toting signpost like fleshy Christmas feather boas. The scaly interlopers had since been identified as a red-bellied black snake, an eastern brown snake, and a tiger snake, which rank among the most venomous snakes on Earth. However, to the relief of everyone everywhere, Zimmerman later revealed the Daily Mail that the festive fangbangers, the puns in this story are horrible. Absolute. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Ben Cost, you're not funny. Okay? You're not funny. Your writing's terrible. Terrible. Calling you out on it. All right? Anyways, apparently these snakes had purposely been placed there by the owner for the Yuletide snap. Yeah. Resident known as Snake Man in Melbourne, who had their venom removed so they were no longer posing a threat. Social media skeptics were wise to reptilian Rick Roll, posting replies, "Those guys have been put there by someone, fake snakes. This is staged, people. This is not a representation of Australia. These 3 snakes do not naturally cross paths, let alone bundle together in the middle of a city where there is no natural habitat." However, Zimmerman jokes that it's not fake. They were very real in the same comment. Unfortunately, Scrooge's Crashing Christmas is an all-too-real phenomenon in Australia. A Queensland couple was nearly given an extra snug holiday hug after stumbling upon a 10-foot python on their porch last week. See, that's another reason not to travel to Australia. Too many snakes. Can't go on land. Snakes and crocodiles. Lots of stuff that'll kill you. Can't go in the water. The great whites are going to eat you. Probably megalodon, too. Australia is a bad place. Bad place. Puerto Rico defied the U.S. government by adopting a law on Wednesday to keep cockfighting alive, seeking to protect a 400-year-old tradition on the island despite a federal ban that goes into effect this week. Those in the cockfighting business cautiously rejoiced amid concerns over the U.S. territory trying to sidestep a federal law that President Donald Trump signed a year ago. We are certainly challenging a federal law. We know what that implies. Representative Gabriel Rodriguez Aguillo, who co-authored the bill, Rodriguez says he expects the fight to end up in court. It's going to be a real cockfight in the courthouse. As word spread, those in the cockfighting industry cheered the news as some met with Governor Wanda Vazquez, who announced that she plans to run in the island's 2020 general elections. There's been work going on, exclaimed Domingo Ruiz, who owns more than 30 cocks, has spent... At some point, they got to say rooster. At some point, can we not just say rooster? Cockfighting generates an estimated $18 million a year and employs some 27,000 people. According to the bill approved by Puerto Rico's House and Senate, the island's legislators have bristled at Trump's move, noting that in their bill that cockfights and betting on them have been part of our culture and folklore ever since the introduction to Puerto Rico in the 17th century. They want to get their cock game on. Not caulk. Cock game. Cockfights. There we go. I'm blaming Captain Shirk for this. Totally blaming Captain Shirk. Puppies' big eyes, soft hair, and pink tongues may look cute and cuddly, but federal health officials say they may also be linked to a multi-state superbug outbreak. 30 people across 13 states have been infected by a drug-resistant strain of Campylobacter jejuni. Whatever the hell that is. Yeah, well, apparently it is linked to pet store puppies. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have said 4 people have been hospitalized, but no deaths reported. Of the 24 sickened people who were interviewed by the CDC, 21 reported being in contact with a puppy, and 15 of them held the dogs in pet stores. The agency also reported that of those 15 people that visited a pet store, 12 visited the national pet store chain Petland, and 5 were employees. States with cases include Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, and Wyoming. Illnesses occurred between January 6th of this year and November 10th and occurred in people with ages ranging between 8 months and 70 years old. The CDC says it believes more cases may be reported because it takes time between when a person becomes ill and when the illness is reported. The agency added that lab evidence shows that bacteria in this outbreak is closely related to bacteria in a 2016 to 18 outbreak linked to pet store puppies. That outbreak, which infected 113 people in 17 states, caused 23 hospitalizations and was declared over in January 2018. Well, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Couple more stories for you. Up here in Canada, police in the British Columbia city of Delta were called to what would have been or could have been a very extremely dangerous situation, but they received a little bit of a surprise. Last week, police received reports of people arguing and threatening to shoot each other at around 2 o'clock in the morning. When officers arrived at the scene, they did indeed find a gun battle. However, it was a Nerf gun battle. 4 men were engaged in a loud and rowdy battle and apparently were unaware of just how much noise they were making. The men were sent on their way before a winner could be figured out, with one man suffering a minor welt from the battle. That's good stuff. Nerf wars are good. Good times. All right. Let this serve as a lesson to those who want to mask the smell of smoke in their car with an exorbitant amount of air freshener spray. A driver in West Yorkshire, the UK, reportedly destroyed his black sedan this past weekend by lighting a cigarette after unloading a can of aerosol air freshener. When the driver lit the cigarette, the outcome was dramatic, said the West Yorkshire Fire Department. The fumes exploded and blew out his windscreen, along with some windows at a nearby business premises. Yeah, the car exploded. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Yeah, it was an almighty boom, one Facebook commenter responded. We watched his windscreen and window glass fall from the sky. Bystanders, observing that the man climbed out of his car after he inadvertently turned it into a bomb and detonated it. Paramedics treated the man at the scene. He sustained minor injuries. The owner fortunately sustained only minor injuries, but this could have been much worse, police said in a statement, which pleaded to other air freshener using smokers. Please, can members of the public be careful and follow guidelines when using air fresheners? People still smoke in their cars? It's disgusting. Don't like the smell. Okay, now we're usually ripping on Florida Man for the final story of the year or the night, but this is really cool. We're going to end this news before we get to the thought of the day on a very positive Florida Man story. I know I didn't think they existed, but apparently it does. And this gentleman named Mike Esmond, well, you know what? He's a hero. Florida man Mike Esmond, who once spent a Christmas without electricity, is literally paying it forward. He went and paid the power bills for 36 families with past due accounts. Mike says he will never forget the Christmas he and his 3 daughters spent in 1983 without heat and power because he couldn't pay his bill. He said it was one of the coldest days on record in Pensacola at only 9 degrees and remembers there were icicles hanging off the window. The now 73-year-old small business owner says he doesn't want any other families to spend the holidays shivering. He went to the city of Gulf Breeze this month, requested a list of all utility accounts that were past due and at risk of having their gas and water turned off. Then he paid for all 36 of them, totaling about $4,600. The Pensacola News-Journal reported that instead of sending out notices that their gas and water were being shut off, the city sent out cards notifying the residents of Esmond's gift. Angela Cascio says she was stunned by the stranger's kindness. The mother of 4 was struggling to choose between paying bills or buying presents for her kids. She posted on a Facebook message saying, "Angels absolutely walk among us." And Mr. Esmond, you, my friend, are an angel. Good job. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Twitter and Facebook pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Yeah, let's get to it, shall we? What's your most haunting experience of 2019? Hard to believe we're at that point of the year, isn't it? Hard to believe. And Marty's not even around to give me a clown on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. I don't know how I feel about that right now, but I'm sure I'll get through it. I'm pretty sure. All right, let's see what you had to say out there. William, making several attempts to mend fences and bring together the San Antonio UFO community, it was a haunting, troubling, and frustrating experience in 2019, all for naught. Francesca, my UFO video, although not scary, but definitely Larry on my ghost radar and his nooses around the fridge door opening, but no one there, and walking around, sounds and shadows down the hall, and sitting on my bed. The Duck, Jim Mallard. Websites are haunted. Yeah, you went there. Websites are haunted. By the way, I should mention this. It's Keith Richards' birthday today. Nobody really knows how old he is. There's a picture on Twitter of Keith with his two beautiful daughters. And the caption says, "These are Keith Richards' daughters. When they pass away, he will inherit everything." My goodness. What kind of world are we leaving for Keith Richards? That's what it comes down to. We got to start thinking about this, people. If you haven't been thinking about it, we got to be thinking about it. We definitely need to be thinking about it. All right, let's continue on with the thought of the day. I think we need to do that. Keith Richards, love that guy. A girl whispering in my ear, according to Rose, as if someone was standing right next to me. I couldn't make out what she was saying, felt a breeze across my left side at the same time. Barry, waking up at 3:15 in the morning back in July to discover a woman lying next to me in bed. Only problem is that I was the only one in bed when I went to sleep. And I'm not involved with any girls right now. She was much younger than me, had more melatonin in her skin than I do, had long brown hair and a prominent brow ridge, and had body odor that I've never smelt before. It wasn't a bad odor, just one different from mine. And after startling awake, I tried reaching over her body in order to turn on the lamp that was next to her. She immediately exclaimed, "Don't turn on the light. Don't turn it on." I did turn the light on, and she was gone. But the pillow next to mine was still depressed from her head, and there were long strands of dark brown hair in the bed next to me. There was more unnerving events similar to this on August 16th, but that story is reserved for another time. Oh, that's an eerie one. Very, very eerie one. Debbie, all my lifelong experiences have been amazing. 2019, my mom apporting a scarf after she had passed. Mary, seeing my son-in-law that passed in 2016. Tony, the demise of certain talk shows. I can't give the name, Tony. I can't. Want to, but can't. She tried to own the night, but she just couldn't. Sylvia gets the final word. My lights going off and on in my bedroom all year long. My goodness, that would be absolutely freaky to see that happen. I don't get to see stuff like that. I want to. Never happens for me. Never happens. Don't know why. Just doesn't happen. Wish it would. Let's go to Twitter. Couple of Twitter. Joe, approaching an abandoned railroad tunnel in the mountains on a peaceful, calm day, an incredibly strong single gust of wind, suspected elementals, attempted to knock me off from my 100-foot climb to access the tunnel. The same tunnel where I was shoved by an elemental inside. Now that's freaky. Did they see your bandana? Did you have the wrong bandana on, Joe? That's what I want to know. Foya Boy Mike, first and only time I listened to Goof on Radio on Spaced Out Radio was by far the most haunted experience of this year. And you know, Little Richie G loved seeing that. Gotta love Little Richie G. We appreciate him. Hey, I want to say a big thank you to everybody taking part in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it again tomorrow on Twitter and Facebook. Also, big thank you to Captain Shirk for getting the news redder. Merle, get better. We need you for Ghosts of the Great White North in January, but thank you to Ross Allison, June Nixon, and Amber Beckerud for joining us on the final Ghosts of the Great White North of the year. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, in our chat rooms, on Spreaker, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, Revolution Radio, LGAB, and all you snarkers and snarkettes at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. Micah Hanks comes on in for the first time tomorrow night. UFOs, cryptids, monsters, ghosts, and Micah himself. It's going to be fun. See you tomorrow. Good night.